Mm.
All right, so we're here on another Couch Coach Live, another Tuesday here. Yeah, what's going on, fellas?
Not much. What's going on with you?
I'm
Same
good,
old man.
man.
Yeah, same old man. Just another day. That's another day. Just doing it, man. Another Couch Coach Live.
Really, right? How many shows you do today,
Huh?
Chris? How many
Hmm?
shows you do today? Did you do any? Did you?
I
Can you
did
hear me?
nothing to. Yeah, I hear you. I didn't do anything
Uh-huh.
today. I haven't done a show since Saturday. Did two on
Oh, okay.
Saturday.
Let me get it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, the red the team Washington team, formerly known as the Redskins.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great show. I think you
Yeah.
held it together wonderful. I was trying to pick on you a little bit, and then you made a couple of faces, and I said I'm gonna leave him alone. You know what I mean? But
But yeah, it was
that was
yeah,
a
it
good
was
show.
yeah, it was good, man. It was
That was a
good
good
having
show.
having our friend of the podcast, Rob, put the Football and Chill podcast on. That definitely big time. And it was a good show. It flowed very well.
That show right there to me is what podcasts are about. Two fans going back and back, and you basically telling your memories and different things, and even stuff you might have forgot. You know what I mean? Because like he knew somebody's brother, right? Like he
Hmm?
met somebody's brother that used to play for the team or something like that.
Yeah, it was Gary Clark brother.
Yeah, yeah, you know what I mean. So it was just
Hmm.
cool to hear both of y'all like two kids, and two different generation Redskin fans too. You're a little bit older, so it
Right.
seemed like you, yeah, that was real cool, because all
Yeah.
he talked about was Gruden. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the Gruden days is such and such. You know what I mean? So it was kind of cool. That was cool.
Yeah, because he was what 27, I think. So yeah, that was one of the things where it was kind of like you look at the difference because I think when we talked about Sean Taylor, I think he said he was probably I want to say maybe like high school, if that.
Right.
So that
Very
yeah, I
emotional
was
for him too.
right. Yeah, I
That was
mean
very
it was
emotional.
something. Yeah, it was a very that was and we did it very well because we were also like beforehand we were like we're gonna cry first like between the two of us and we did we held it for the most part but yeah it was yeah it was a great show so so fellas the top story so far is Jamal Adams gets his wish. He gets traded to the Seattle Seahawks. And the Jets did receive 2 first-round picks. So they received a 2011 first-round pick in the third round, and then a first-round pick in 2022, and also safety Brandon. JB,
Mhm.
who's the winner of this trade, in your opinion?
So I think short term, you probably have to say Seattle, but I would say probably long term, probably the Jets because they're going to get 2 first round picks. My issue with Jamal Adams is I think Jamal Adams is a very good safety, but I don't think he's worth 13, 14, $15 million a year. I think that he's very good when he can play a certain way. Like he's to me kind of a safety you bring close to the line of scrimmage. You can blitz him. He can make plays on the quarterback. He's kind of like a hybrid linebacker, but if you have a good offensive coach that can put him in situations where he's going to have to cover a guy in space, he's really not that good. So to me, he's not what I would consider elite safety in the game. I think in a certain role, he's very good at what he does, but I don't think that's worth 13 to $15 million a year for what he can do.
Maui, your thoughts?
I'm not gonna argue with that because that's what everybody keeps saying. I felt like both teams won. I think with this, from the information that I got, and it was short-lived. The information I got, they were saying like having those 2021 draft picks. Don't nobody really know what's going to happen next year. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
think they were saying they might not be able to evaluate. So I thought that was a steal. And then at the same time, he was. They said they have been basically having. I think his agent or somebody was having conversations about this deal before before it actually came out, before he was even criticizing Adam. So I think that I don't even think the Seahawks aren't they known for not paying their players anyway.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhat,
So
yeah. I
It
mean,
depends.
right.
Yeah, it depends on who it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So most likely most likely not going to get paid there anyway. And then from what I'm hearing, the information they get said too is that the Seahawks aren't even known for using their first round draft picks anyway. They don't have, like, they pick late rounds or something like that.
yeah.
I think they said it's been like 10 years since they got some basically used first round draft picks. So I think it'll work well for the Jets. Like, you rebuilding anyway. You know what I'm saying? It's perfect for you. So I felt like both of them, really, it was the best deal. He really didn't want to be there. And like I say, like, if it's a business to me, like partnership. So if you saying that you don't want to be there, then why keep that person there and try to get rid of him and try to get the best deal that you can get, especially when you know eventually you're going to have to pay him anyway. But he's not happy there. Clearly, he wasn't happy there. So you got to figure out a way to get rid of him.
Yeah.
So I say both. I think it's a good deal for both of them.
I want to say the Jets. And what's the funny thing about it is that when you sit down and think about it, because when they were talking about, well, 2 first round draft picks, there's no way in hell an NFL GM is going to give away 2 first round picks for this man.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, that was what maybe about like 6 weeks thought about that. And then you got to think to yourself, like, he got essentially what he asked for in a sense, because you're like, okay, well, that's going to be the ceiling. You never thought, like, that was like the bargaining chip. You know, everybody's going to go lower. And this one, I'm like, it's perfect. And look at now, we got Joe Douglas, who I think is a good GM, and I think he will take advantage of those 2 first round draft picks going forward for that. You know, we look at the Jets, and they've been, when it comes to first round draft picks, I think their first round draft picks, I think they had like 7 or 8 between 2013 and 2018, and only one guy's there, and that's Sam Darnold. So that lets you know, like, okay, well, generally that's why a lot of people are kind of leaning toward the Seahawks having a better deal. But I think now there's a new sheriff in town, and Joe Douglas, Richmond, you know, a local product. And I think the sky's the limit for him. And I think he can put a stamp on his team.
Oh, I remember when last time we spoke about this, the Jets fan Mike was saying that there was already conversations of they was going to have to do some things with the cap based upon this the pandemic, and he was like, Mike kept saying that's why he's talking, because he knows they're not going to be able to pay him. You know what I mean? And my whole thing is, if you know that you're not going to do those certain things, and you know he still would have, because I'm sure the Seahawks aren't going to redo a deal with him. You know what I mean? Then get rid of him and see what you can get for him. Then, you know what I mean? That's I think they did well. You know what I mean? It's still a toss up with those, you know, the 2021 picks, but you know, they got picks. They got leverage to do whatever they want to do with them. You know?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree where you're coming from, but I think the Seahawks have a bad habit of doing this because they did the same thing last year with Clowney. You're basically making this big splash and it's only a 1-year rental. And I just think that like it's very dangerous for you to keep on doing it. Yeah, you're not having a high first round pick because you're a perennial playoff team, but still a first round pick is still very valuable. Like you can still, if your scouts do a good job, and Seattle scouts have done a good job over the last decade, you can find good quality players late first round, second round. And I just think that I think short term, I think it's a good deal for the Seahawks. But let's just say for some reason, let's say that Russell Wilson gets hurt next year. I mean, then that first round pick turns into a very good pick probably because the Seahawks don't really have a good backup situation. And, you know, Russell Wilson is a top 3 quarterback in the league. So, like, I understand why the Seahawks did it, but they're only going to have him for 1 year. And I think that's very dangerous. Like, if you get a championship, okay, that's, you know, the gamble paid off. I think that any GM would say, I'll give up 2 first round picks to get a Super Bowl, to get 1 Super Bowl. I think any GM would do that. But if you don't get it and you look at what they did last year with Clowney, I don't think it's good for you to keep on it like back-to-back years. It's just my point.
Yeah. But isn't that what majority teams? Isn't that what they do though? Don't they usually get like a 1 or 2 done player?
Not in basketball. Not in football though. You don't see really teams do this like where they're constantly making these trades and they're trading, high collateral to get like a guy that is essentially a 1-year rental. So like, yeah.
So okay, even with this year, with this pandemic, you wouldn't try that this year, which you don't know really what you're going to get come next year.
So here's my thing. I think that if it's a different guy, I think you can make, because like I said, I think Jamal Adams is good for what he can do. Like I think he's very good around the line of scrimmage, but if you go against an elite quarterback and an offensive coordinator can draw up a scheme where he has to check a tight end or a running back or a receiver, he's not going to do well. He doesn't do well in space. So I understand where you're coming from. I think that this year is going to be a very interesting year with like the pandemic, and obviously there probably aren't going to be that many fans in the stands. So like anything could happen. You feel like with all sports because of the pandemic that the year is very wide open. But I just think that like you're paying high collateral, you're paying collateral for all pro player, and Jamal Adams to me is not an all pro player. He's a Pro Bowl player, he's a good player, but he's not a great player.
Okay. I trust it. It's just that when it comes to the NFL and how they do things, it's just so strange to me. You know what I mean? Because I feel like if you have an opportunity to get a player that's already proved himself like 3 years, why waste, a pick when you can pick somebody and then they come in and then you really don't, you know what I mean? And it might be a bust. You know what I mean? But that's just me though. You know what I mean? I know the NFL has a strict way they do things, and I know anybody who follow it seems like it's only a few people that think outside the box, but it seems like that is the structure, that is how you do it. You know what I mean? That's how it works. But it does seem like it's the same teams in the playoffs, and it's the same teams winning Super Bowls.
Oh yeah, well, and I guess my other point is too. I think that the way I value defensive players and offensive players in football are different. A player like Jamal Adams, he's a defensive player. He's only going to have so many opportunities where he maybe could make a play to turn the game around.
I see what you're saying.
So I mean, like to me,
I see what you're saying, dude, for real.
Yeah.
And essentially, the only reason why this really happened because he was pretty much complaining to a point where it's almost like they had to get him out of there because he was like he was just becoming a cancer. Like the whole thing of him saying that Adam Gates isn't a great leader, dude. Just in most cases, just go in there and do your job.
Right, and, but I got some people that said that the deal was already being talked about before he even started doing it. It's almost like that was to push everything forward. They said I think it was the cap for 21. And they said they didn't get the actual information until last Friday. So it seemed like he was doing all that just to push everything forward, just in case.
Right.
They may not have wanted to let him go.
Right, because that was a straw that broke the camel back. Because you're gonna say that 4 days before training camp, you're like, hey man, let's get him the hell out. Like, because I guarantee you, I don't think if he would have said that per se, they still would have traded him, but it wouldn't be such a rush. But it's like, dude, man, get him out. I'm like, man, I don't believe that, 4 days going into training camp.
Right.
And that's, I think, where really what the crux of it where it really boils down to.
And sucks, man, because what if it don't work? That stuff go stick to him.
Well, if
Adams go there and get hurt, or he's not as it's not as successful as he was, everybody's going to stick that to him that he was very disrespectful to the team. To Adam anyway.
Yeah, but hey, if it does, it definitely will make Joe Douglas a genius. If that does happen, if it doesn't pan out. But yeah, man, it'll be interesting though. So let's talk about Major League Baseball and the drama that is going on in Major League Baseball now. The Miami Marlins, now, as we all know, that they have at this point have 17 cases, and that's amongst players as well as staff. So, and also a new development that happened earlier today, where Miami pretty much has postponed all their games up until Sunday, and JB's Baltimore Yankees, due to this whole thing of where everything had to be adjusted on the fly. So, fellas, your thoughts on what's MLB handling this coronavirus situation, and your thoughts. I'm gonna go with you first, JB, since you were affected by it.
You're a baby, you know what I mean?
So I'm not really surprised that it happened. I think that, even though baseball is an outdoor sport and the contact is limited, baseball players have some really disgusting habits. Like, you see that they spit a lot and they just do a lot of things that you would consider to be unsanitary. So I'm not really surprised. Now, here's the thing I'm interested in, and I've heard different stories about this. Where did this come from? Now, did it come from the Phillies locker room?
Florida.
Yeah, Florida, because they were playing in Philadelphia. Did this come from Philly's locker room? Because here's the thing that I think that people really don't know, and I think we all played sports, but locker rooms are pretty fucking disgusting. Excuse my language. They're disgusting, and if you're not deep cleaning them every day, viruses and bacteria can be anywhere. So I want to know if somebody had the virus before they came to Philadelphia, or did somebody get the virus in Philadelphia and it spread like wildfire? That's my question that I have. So.
Yeah. Mal, your thoughts?
And see, what you just saying is part of the issue. So that has to be an investigation to figure that out. And then they have to, once they figure that out, they have to go, okay, well, how did that person get it? And then it goes and goes and goes to a deeper investigation. Yeah. Then you got to have, these old people up here think about the future and what necessarily you need to do. Like, it's so weird. Like, I hate to say it. I don't know how they, like, I watched a guy, he said, it's like 60 games, man. We can't do it like soccer and NBA and have it in a bubble. But I'm like, man, if you wanted this to go, it looks like to me that's the only way it can go. You can't sit there and be like, it can't work. You have to figure out a way for it to work. How many is there any indoor baseball stadiums or anything like that?
I mean, yeah, there are some. Yeah, they have some.
I mean, this is me just thinking outside the box as I was watching it. And I was like, why couldn't, I don't know, man. This is hard. Like, even the next, where we going after this, it's just hard because I was thinking, man, they not really in a bubble. So that means that they can still go out and hang and do some things that, you know what I mean? And then I was hearing that baseball wasn't even close to starting. And then all of a sudden, boom. Oh, we ready? You know what I'm saying? Not just like when the NBA, we was waiting. I feel like the NBA probably could have started a week or two before it actually started. You know what I mean? And it's just like baseball. Yeah, it seemed like baseball was just rushing to try to hurry up to get. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Coach. You do your thing.
Right now, I mean, you hit it on the head because that's what happened. The NBA was smart because they were strategic. They knew they were going to have cases going into the bubble, and they bought them time to say, well, these guys should recover within the next 14 days or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And to go to the other points where. And to go back to your point, JB, where you see how mostly like the NBA, what they're doing, those guys can't even shower. Like, they have to literally have to shower in their rooms.
Right.
So that's another thing too, where like you're saying, that's why I look at that and it's like, that's another place where you think yourself like, that's a cesspool of germs. And we've talked about that too on a couple of weeks ago as well. That's the problem too. And now it's to a point where with 17 people, what's going to happen is and this is what's tricky about it all is it's a trickle effect. It's not just affecting the Marlins. It's affecting even like I was telling, what I was alluding to earlier with JB and the Orioles, where now they have to adjust their plans because of what's going on. So what happens is like this affected 3 teams. So just imagine if another team would, like, say for instance, because that's a cluster. So to me, that's already kind of a red flag for me because if it affects 3 teams, and now these teams got to adjust on the fly, and it's just like this is another thing where this becomes a problem. And this is just the first weekend. It's like, how in the world are we going to actually have a 60-game regular season, and we're having problems like this already in the first weekend?
Yeah.
And how many? You usually have double headers and everything, right?
But they're not.
They're not going to do that.
But they're not. But they're not
doing double headers.
Yeah, they're not going to do any doubleheaders. And Deshaun, I kind of feel where you're coming from about the bubble. I think the biggest reason why there wasn't a bubble, I think that they wanted to do a bubble. I think that the original plan was probably we're going to do a bubble in probably Southern California and Arizona, but the virus, like during the time, it was spreading like wildfire in California and Arizona. Right. So they just decided, like, okay, it'll probably be safer for us just to be staying at our home stadium and then travel. And the way that they did it was kind of smart. Basically, you're only playing teams within your division and you're doing the interleague games. You're doing, I think, 20 interleague games and you're doing all the rest of the games within your division, which I think was a good idea. But I think one mistake that they made too, I think that they should have done daily testing. They're only, a lot of times from what I heard, they were testing every other day, which I think was not a good idea.
Yeah. And it's another thing too, where like what happened with the Nationals. We had Juan Soto. He was out. He was playing Wednesday and BP straight. He gets tested the night before, and he couldn't even play the opening day. Like those type of situations where it's like they don't get a handle. And I think that's why the NBA. I think what makes the NBA good, how this works out, because they've been through it. That's another thing too, where you have to get NBA credit to it, because I never knew about the whole situation with Utah, where essentially no hotel in OKC was like they were like, no, no one's coming in this. Pretty much everybody was telling them no as far as staying the night, because remember they was they had to get tested and everything. They had to wait for the results. They were saying the guys were sleeping on the bus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because nobody.
This just popped up on my phone, but Juan Soto received consecutive negative tests, so he's awaiting like league clearance. So it looks like Juan Soto will probably be back sometime, I would say, next week for the Nationals, which is good news. Yeah, which is probably good news for the Nationals. But yeah, and I just want to talk about this too. I've seen some disgusting habits with the MLB, like so. The managers are wearing the mask, but they're not covering their nose. Like, so they'll wear the mask like down here and just stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of spitting, and it's just like, I think baseball players are probably by far the most disgusting players, like of all the major sports. So, I mean, it's just not really that they choose sunflower seeds. They spit out like they're like a baseball. The baseball dugout and the baseball locker room is just a cesspool of like bacteria, in my opinion.
And that's the thing. They can't do that. You know what I mean?
I know.
Hey, if you want to learn how to deal with this pandemic, go talk to the people of Food Line. Because Food Line ain't stopped since it began. Like, you know what I mean? Food Line still 7 to 11. They put you know what I mean? They did everything you're supposed to do, man. For real, like and they just, I guess. Go ahead.
And that's what we was talking to Rome about a few weeks ago. I think we talked to him right after the NFL draft. Rome now is a baseball coach, and we were talking about and I said because those guys they pause, but they spit on the ball. Pause.
Right.
So and you're like, so and that's why, and that was one of my concerns too that I brought up to him, because like, these guys, especially like pitchers, they do that type of stuff, and you're like, I don't think you're going to be able to do that. Like, considering the fact that with a pandemic going on, and your saliva is conducive to pathogens that could give you the coronavirus.
Yeah, I mean, what y'all just think? They might have just moved too fast, or?
I think that they should have. I personally, I'm sorry to cut you off, Chris, but I personally think that they probably should have. They should have gotten the season together a lot faster than what they did. There was a lot of bickering, and I also think that what the NBA and what the NHL did were probably smart. They knew that guys were going to be testing positive, so they waited a while before they entered the bubble. And I think the NBA and the NHL, what they were trying to do, I think they were trying to reach like kind of like a herd immunity situation. And I think baseball just they like you said, Maui, I think that they went for it very, 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 very fast.
Yeah, it said a lot of players, just players that actually knew that they had it, and then they was keeping it quiet. That's playing baseball. It said some players are positive and they were keeping it quiet. And I saw that some of the players was like, they didn't put us first. They didn't put the players first. They wasn't really thinking of how, because a lot of players are saying they're scared. You know what I mean? They're a little nervous about going out there to play because you never know. You know, you could end up positive. You know, because like I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, if you remember, they were going under labor unrest. Now remember that too. That was another issue where we were like, look, y'all need to just get this done, and you need to be worrying about a plan to get back. And like you said, you know, and just going back to JB's point as well, where those guys knew that, you know, they were gonna, you know, guys were gonna test positive, and you were gonna buy time, like, because we were like, you know, because we were apprehensive even from the jump. We were like, okay, well, you know, do we really believe that these guys going to be able to go on flights and, you know, and be in this bubble for this particular amount of time? But it all made sense because these guys, they came, about 3 weeks ago. So now it all makes sense because now you get those guys and they're good now where they bought enough time where, hey, they'll be okay in 14 days, you would assume. Generally, right,
and I think that's the main thing. I think the Major League Baseball should have started a little early, so just in case they could deal with any issues, they could fix it. You know what I mean? And it looked like to me it should have been. I don't know. I'm sure they probably did it. Maybe I'm wrong. Better physicals. It should have been some tests. And if in the physical and tests, if some people was positive, then you gotta, just like the NBA. Well, they're gonna have to sit out until, and you're gonna have to get some other players in there until those guys test negative, and then they can come back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it seemed like to me, regardless, and then you just you're gonna have to hire some people, man, to keep stuff sanitized. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
you know, the dude's gonna spit on the ball, but somebody's gonna have to sanitize it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I think that probably they need to be deep cleaning those locker rooms like every day, man. Like I know, but like, hey man, like these owners have money, man. They can afford it, man. Like, you know, like that's what they should be doing.
And it's for a pandemic.
Right.
Yeah. They probably get money from the government to do it, man. It's a pandemic. They right now hire some people to do that.
And and I think the crux of it really is, and I think going back to your points, JB, where the locker room, they don't need to be in the locker room. Like honestly, to be 100% real, they don't need to be in there. They just need to change and dress at their wherever they are, at the home or whatever, or wherever. And then the testing, man. Where you, like you said, every other day, you can't test these people every other day and expect like you're gonna get control over it. That's just impossible. These guys gotta get tested every day, like that just makes more sense because you can, you know, if you go 2 days without the testing, anything can happen. Because like what happened with them with Miami, where 17 people got it within a 2-day period.
Crazy.
Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But, and then look at NASCAR. When I was reading, when all that Bubba Wallace stuff happened, the gentleman that was speaking for NASCAR, which was a ESPN analysis, he was saying how locked down everybody is. He was like, Bubba can't even go to the garage. He's not even allowed to go to the garage because the way they locking everybody down. Like, okay, these guys, they're with his crew, they can go to the garage, you know, which that's why somebody is the one that told about the news. You know what I mean? It wasn't him. So that's just showing you how NASCAR is locking everybody down, where the driver can't even go to the garage and check on things. You know what I mean? It's all they. So I'm like, why couldn't you hire somebody to make sure the bathroom's clean? You're just going to have to hire some people to keep things in order, to even keep the players in order. Because I'm sure if they're not in a bubble, they moving how they want to move. I bet you they not making them stay and do. I know they moving how they want to move, man.
And I think that's going to be the problem going forward with football.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
And I looked at it where I thought about it initially. I think the biggest problem is if you play on a Sunday and then you play on a Thursday night. I think if you do test positive on, like, you know, on the road trip, it's a potential. And I know the NFL is going to try to weasel their way into kind of figuring a way where if a guy tests positive, how long he can be, you know, this and the third. But I guarantee you, they could probably get away with if a guy get tested on Sunday, to have him back on the field the following Sunday. I'm just saying, I guarantee the NFL will probably try to figure some kind of way of doing that. And I think the only problem, like you said, when these guys, you can't expect these grown men, essentially, like you said, if they're not in a bubble type situation, they're going to go places. They're going to go to grocery stores. They're going to go to restaurants. They're going to go to bars or what have you. And that's the thing. And like that's another thing, the containment. Like you're saying, it's all about the containment, and you're not going to be able to contain in that type of circumstance. Because I don't like the NFL talking about something. Well, you can't leave your room. You can't take any public or private transportation while you're on the road. I know it's only one night, but still, you think guys going to buy about that?
Well, man, I'm gonna tell you something. That's the problem, man, with everybody, because everybody keeps saying, "Well, man, you really think they're gonna go back? This is not nothing regular. Like this is a pandemic, and it is spreading, and people is getting sick, and people is dying. It may not be how you think it is, but so you have to look at it like, okay, this is not just us saying, hey, you can't do this. This is against the rules. This is keeping you. So you got to understand that, like, you professional, like, you know what I mean, like this." Like First Take, they not even in. They Zoom it, they StreamYard it. They not even in the room. You know what I mean? So like, you just gotta be professional, man. Like we know that y'all probably, damn, we still in the house. We can't do this. We can't do that, man. Like y'all was talking about it before we went on air. If you just kneel to it and accept it, it'd be easier for you. You know what I mean? Make the best out of it. At least you know what I'm saying.
I totally agree with you. But we still talking about professional athletes who already feel like, and I hate saying this as a perfect example. Mm-hmm. Dennis Rodman hit it on the head because they asked him back in the day, like everything that happened with Magic Johnson, and at that time we were all talking about like safe sex and what have you. Mm-hmm. And Dennis Rodman was like, yeah, they were faced for a little while, but everybody went back to normal. And that's almost what the country is, where in the spring everybody was like hunkering down, but the summer, like everybody is just not throwing caution to the wind.
And that's how, like I said, that's what the problem is that everybody's like, you know what I mean? And they hearing people saying that they testing positive. They hear it, but they don't want to go back. They so scared to go back that they got to be back in the house. I wish you'd go back, because I love driving around here when everybody was on lockdown. Oh, it was great.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like you can probably get the vast majority. That's just like everything. When you're in a collective group like that, when you're on you would think with the NFL team, a traveling party of maybe 70-ish. I mean, we think about coaches, players, probably a little bit more. But just give you a 4-night figure. You gotta know it's probably 10%, less than 10% of the bunch is gonna try to do something crazy. That's gonna try to ruin it for you.
Look, you lucky I ain't the owner. I put half of the organization on furlough.
You had a damn team.
not team, but officials. Like, look, man, what you do? Oh man, I can get him to do that. Don't even worry about it. Right. See you next season.
So our next topic. So we talked about how guys gonna just move on their own. So let's talk about LouWill. So Williams, so he was excused from the NBA bubble. He attended a funeral for his grandfather in Georgia. So he goes to the funeral, what have you. So Lou Williams, after everything that transpired with the funeral, and everything, he goes to Magic City, and obviously you always got to be somebody that blows your cover. A rapper named Jack Harlow. Took a picture of LouWill while he was at this, and LouWill pretty much said, "Hey, I was just there to get some wings." It was like 6:00 in the evening. So fellas, so let me also. So he comes back to the bubble now, so he's gonna be quarantined for 10 days. So he'll be missing 2 games, 2 of the seeding games. JB, your thoughts on LouWill?
Ooh, so I mean, like, look, man, like I think the bottom line is that people at the end of the day, they're gonna just do what they want to do. Like him being there at 6 in the evening, I don't think it's that egregious, but it's just the fact that you left the bubble to go to a funeral, and then just you couldn't have gone to Wingstop. You couldn't have gone to Buffalo Wild Wings to get buffalo wings. I mean, like I just think the reason why this is news is because of where it was at.
Yeah,
I think that if he gets wings from like Hooters or he gets wings from Buffalo Wild Wings, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it's the fact that he went to a damn strip club. Let's just call it what it is. And I mean, you have to be smarter than that, because one, you're a professional athlete. People know who you are. You're a prolific sixth man, so you just can't go to a strip club in Florida and expect nobody's gonna know who I am. I mean, if you're a hockey player, okay, maybe you can get away with it. Like if you're like Sidney Crosby going to like the Gold Club, maybe you can get away with it. But I mean, you're a professional basketball player. You play in the NBA. You're not getting away with that, man. He should have just gone. He just go back to the down bubble, or you could have just gotten. I don't know. You could have like gotten to go or something like that. I don't know. I'm just. It was disappointing, man, that he did that.
All right, Mal, your thoughts?
First of all, he went to that Hooters that was in Memphis. Remember that, Chris? Remember the tall, light-skinned shorty at the Hooters in Memphis?
Yeah.
That was
a
stallion. No, but I'm gonna toss up with this. I just be tripping because I'm thinking that these guys are millionaires, and I don't understand why you wouldn't just get somebody to get some stuff for you. But it was Magic City, so I'm sure the atmosphere and the service is great there. But it also, one thing I know when we was on the road, places that you wouldn't think have great food. Like for instance, in Mississippi, every gas station you go to got the best chicken you ever tasted in your life. Am I telling the truth?
Oh yeah,
I'm not playing. You would not know. You wouldn't think that, but I mean, they had some of the best food. I'm not making an excuse for him. I think that he gonna take it on the chin, and like this situation, like I said, is a pandemic and they have rules, so it is what it is. It is a strip club, so a lot of people was gonna be like, but I'm thinking now, since that happened, everybody's gonna be smart to get such and such to go get it for him. You know what I mean? Hey man, could you go such and such and get me? I don't understand why he didn't do that. But it also, I have a problem with the people. I mean, I understand he's a celebrity, but man, we tell on each other too much. Goodness gracious. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes people chilling, let them chill. You know what I mean? You don't always got to take a picture of them. You know what I mean? But,
snitches, get stitches.
Right. I just don't understand. Like, I'll be like, sometimes I'll be like, if you ask them and they cool with it, it's okay. But they just be doing too much, thinking that it's funny. You know what I mean? Yeah. But, and then like now this is and I don't even think he's that type of character. But I just think that he's got to be a little bit smarter, a little more responsible, and he should have just called a homeboy or somebody like that, Uber Eats or something, to not think, not to go get the food for him. And another thing, like I saw two players. One player, he was very negative and he's always going over the top, trying to be like Shannon Sharp, and he was being very, very, to me, just doing too much. Then I heard Tracy McGrady, and Tracy McGrady said they're making this. He got an excuse. But if he'd have went to the grocery store, if he'd have went to Wingstop, like you said, it wouldn't even been a story. You know what I mean? But the bottom line is, I'm thinking if you decided to play in the bubble and you leave, cameras are on you, regardless of what you're doing.
Yeah. Now,
so it's the player to be smart.
Now, is the player that you're talking about? Oh yeah, and I'm glad that you brought him up, man. Like, I'm tired of Kendrick Perkins, man. I think he's a joke. He can barely string two sentences together, and he's always doing extra stuff on the air or whatever. Like like I mean, like what he was doing was very disrespectful to Lou Williams. Like Lou Williams has never really got in trouble before. Lou Williams is not like really a knucklehead. Yada yada yada, and I just think that he does too much. And like just the way he came after Kevin Durant earlier this year too, I don't understand what his agenda is.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and my thing with it is it's the optics. That's what it really when it boils down to is the optics of it. That they see this man at a strip club, and we know, like with LouWill, we know it's documented that Magic City is his favorite place. And matter of fact, he got wings in that club, the LouWill lemon pepper barbecue wings. So that's his spot. And that's the problem. Where and then you look at the guy like Jack Harlow, where he did that for clout. And that's like you said, and it goes to the narrative of we days where everybody do stuff for clout. Because I see LouWill in the club during this situation. And we already know he got, it ain't an old picture.
Right.
Match that they gave him at the bubble. Like, so it's like so that's another thing too, where you're like, it's op. To me, I don't think it's a big deal, but from an optics standpoint, it looks really bad. Just for the simple fact of how he could have gotten it, because he's even documented and said that, hey, I've had parties, I've had certain things where they catered my food. It could have been another situation where he could have just got to his home or what have you, because of the same token, if we're gonna kill him for that remind you, he went to a funeral as well with multiple people.
Right.
Too. So, and that's not saying nothing like negative, nothing, but he was also around people. Really, actually, the connotation of the simple fact that he was in a strip club, but he was, in the opposite of it. If he didn't take that picture, he would.
Right. Ain't nobody in there. Yeah. I think that's when you like Le'Veon. I remember with Le'Veon Bell, they said that he was sick, and then he went bowling. And remember that he was supposed to. They said he had the flu, and they were talking about it on First Take. And while they were talking, he was texting Stephen A. Smith. You know what I mean? And when he spoke to Stephen A. Smith, he said, "Yeah, they won't let me play, but I told them I feel good, so I'm upset. So my friends decided that we go bowling." It wasn't a good look, but it's still he was able to speak, and I think Lou should have done that. Like, now that we sitting there having a discussion about it, we like, man, his pop's grandfather died. He went to a place where that's like a place he's known for going to. So that's like, okay, I'm going to see family and friends, probably see the owner, probably see a couple of guys that he hang with, you know what I'm saying? That might have knew his grandpa. We don't know none of that information. We shouldn't even have to have that much of a conversation, you know what I'm saying? Even about it, but we are because of the bubble. And I think that I wish he would have like just had that little conversation and said something to somebody, and then everybody would have broke it down. Because even as we talking about it, somebody said something like, "Man, it's a place that he always went to." You know what I mean? Think of that might be the place he eat majority of the week where he go to eat at. You know what I mean?
And that's what it is. It's his face, and I mean, and it's documented like on podcasts and everything. That's his favorite place to eat. So, if like you said, like to go back to JB point, if his favorite place was like Wingstop or Hooters, I don't think it would have been that big of a deal. He was just going to get food, and he had a mask on. So that's another thing that you're like, okay, it's because of the simple fact that he went to a strip club.
Is
I call it a men's club.
Right.
So, and that's another thing too. Yeah.
And in some places, like you said, it was 6 o'clock, right? In some places, like you go to like a bar, they just automatically have women dancing, regardless of what time it is. You know what I'm saying? So you might be going there just to get something to eat or drink, and it's just, in Akron, it used to be like that. When I moved back in 2004, you would just go to a basic place thinking you about to just get some wings. It might be a sports bar, but because they selling blah, 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 you have a young lady in the corner dancing. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, I didn't know this was, you know what I mean? So you just never know, man. Everything is different in every place. I know society thinks that everything is like this, but it's not. In different states, it's different. Just ask Portland, Oregon, and all the laws they got.
Yeah, and that's what and it's just because we live in a world now with optics, and that's
right
thing where it's just like what if he liked going to Chuck E. Cheese's and got a pizza from there? It'd be the same thing with why would you go somewhere that's filled with kids or whatever, or filled with a bunch of people? It would be an issue, and that's what it ultimately boils down to. And I mean, and I understand. I was okay with how he handled the situation with Perk. Like, I don't really look at him. A lot of people look at him like it was wrong. I'm like, no. Like you said, I've been in the league 15 years, and this is the only dirt that you have on me. It's like, I mean, it is what it is, and I don't like how he compared him to Zion, because you know where Zion went either. So you can't really compare the two. That's why I like when Kendrick made that comparison, because I was like, well, Zion somewhere. He could have went somewhere, and what happened was maybe they just didn't take a picture or whatever. So you don't know. I think the only reason why he essentially got caught because this dude took the picture and then he deleted it and then kind of doubled down and said, "Well, full picture of Lou." That's bro. He got the mask on that he got from the league a few weeks ago. You can't.
Yeah. But I think that this situation would happen. I think it's like a deeper saying about what's going on in our society. I think that people, they just think that things are just black and white and there's no nuance, and I think that that's a problem, and that's a big thing that's happening in our society today. I think that, like you guys mentioned, optics are everything, but like one of my favorite quotes is, looks can be deceiving. Yes, something might look bad, but if you dig a little deeper, it's not as bad as it looks. But people don't want to do that. I think that we're just in a society where everything has to be just one extreme or another extreme. There's no middle ground, and I think that that's very bad. And it says a lot about the times.
And I know when everything clears up, I'm definitely going to Max City and get me some of them LouWill lemon pepper.
Tell how you saying. Say it one more time for me. Lemon pepper.
LouWill lemon pepper barbecue wings. They call it the bone. Yo, and they only like $15 for like and $17.
You know how much they are?
Absolutely, I looked at the menu. Of course, I do homework, research.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, of course.
Look, and you know what's crazy? Magic City probably about to give him some ownership because they done got some publicity, and he got his own wings. That place probably killing it right now.
Yeah, man. Oh, that might be worth. I want to see if that's worth being quarantined 10 days versus 4.
And he brought up that Hooters in Memphis. Oh, I should have went there one more time, but them damn wings are too expensive. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, that experience in Memphis was just wow. Yeah. I need to take a trip to Memphis.
Talking about Redbone and tall.
Yeah,
like,
man.
And have a mean game of basketball, or I get rough.
Yeah, man. That was rebounds. I was like, she was nice too. She was very gracious and very
was she
hospitable.
Was she be? You know,
absolutely.
I made sure I put extra napkins in there. I made sure I did this. Like I was like, Chris, make sure you go to Hooters this season.
Yeah.
So when did you work? Yeah. Remember I said, when did you work? Oh, I work Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Cool. Hey y'all, make sure y'all go to Hooters.
Yeah, she was very hospitable.
Right.
Yeah, she was very hospitable and put the game on for
What was her name, V? You remember her name?
I don't know.
It was a weird name.
If I see her, I know who she is.
Yes.
Trust me.
I'm just thinking about our Hooters trip to Williamsburg that time, man. Carla.
Oh yes. I remember that.
Carla was nice. Carla was nice.
I still have that picture. I still have that. I think it's on Facebook.
It's on Facebook because I still have it too. I've looked at it like maybe not within the last 3 years, but I still have it on Facebook. So yeah.
Yes.
Me, you and Nick went there. Yeah, Carla was nice, man. Woo.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick question. I delivered wine in Charlottesville, right? Let me tell y'all something that's crazy. As nice as Charlottesville is, do you know they do not have a Hooters in Charlottesville?
Really? They may not be
Ain't
good
that
thing.
weird?
Come to think about it. I don't think that's honestly, I'm gonna put it this way. I don't think that's a good idea. I can tell you maybe one of the main reasons why you wouldn't want that in that area after the show, but I don't think I would be they would have to have a lot of security. Everybody's gonna have to at least be walked to their car. I'm just saying
because Harrisonburg don't have one either.
Yeah, well, I'll get to the crux of that after the show.
Because I would think that they would because of both colleges. I would thought that they would because of both colleges.
Yeah. But I knew Harrisonburg. I knew Harrisonburg didn't have one, but I'm shocked that because Harrisonburg is kind of the western part of the state, and they are quite conservative there. But Charlottesville, I'm shocked. I'm really shocked Charlottesville doesn't have one. Let's talk about it after the show.
Yeah,
I got you. My bad.
yeah. Charlottesville is a slippery slope. So let's talk about the Western Conference bubble preview. The much
I'm terrified.
heralded NBA Western Conference bubble as we had 2 days into the reset of the National Basketball Association. Tell us, team most likely to have the 8th seed.
Are you serious?
JB.
Okay, so all right. I think that so what are the teams in the Western Conference we have? I know the playoff teams at the moment, but who are the 4 extra teams? I know it's New Orleans, Portland, Portland, Memphis, Sacramento, and San Antonio, right?
I got you. I'm about to pull it up right now, so you ain't gotta worry about no. All right, fellas, y'all see that? Or let me zoom in real quick, fellas.
Couch Coach Live going to a whole nother level, showing y'all big things.
So, all right, so I'm gonna zoom in. You see it, JB, or you good? So I got 6.
Oh yeah, I see it. So
and then I'm gonna scroll down. Okay. I'm gonna scroll down to the non-playoff team. So you got Portland,
New Orleans, Sacramento.
Oh
yeah, those are the teams. Those are the teams.
And Phoenix.
Okay,
Phoenix.
Okay, and Phoenix. Okay, all right. So let's just delete 3 of the teams right now. Mm-hmm. Phoenix, okay, it's not going to make it. Let's just call it what it is. Phoenix is not going to make it. San Antonio is not going to make it, and Sacramento is not going to make it. I think that we have basically 3 teams competing for the last spot, and that would be New Orleans, Portland, and Memphis. So if the regular season had played out like it had, I probably would have favored New Orleans because I thought New Orleans was coming on strong, and New Orleans also had a considerably easier schedule than the other teams did. Now I'm kind of torn, man. Like, all right, man. I'm gonna throw this out here. I think Portland's gonna get the 8th seed. I really do. I think Portland's gonna get the 8th seed. I think that everything is just kind of lining up for them. I think with them getting Zach Collins back, I think with them getting Nurkic back, they're fairly healthy. I know that Dame's not going to didn't play in a scrimmage the other day, but I think the stars are aligning for Portland, and I actually would like to see Portland and the Lakers in the first round also.
Of course you would.
It would be a good series.
It would be
a good series. I think Portland would get.
Listen to Chris in the background. It would be. I'm telling you, serious.
Yeah.
I
think that with Portland's playoff experience, I think that if Memphis or New Orleans were to get the 8th seed, I do think that they would at least win 1 game against the Lakers. I think Portland has the ability to win 2 or 3 games away from the Lakers. I really do, just with them being familiar with the Lakers, some kind of playoff experience. So. Yeah, so I'm not saying that they would beat the Lakers, but I think that just for viewing purposes, I think the NBA would probably rather see the Lakers in Portland.
My bad.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm done. Yeah, just for TV money.
Okay. I think that me going for the Lakers, I would love that because I feel like they're one of those teams where, okay, I've been watching the scrimmages and stuff. And it just seemed like, first off, I'm so happy that the Warriors are not in this damn thing because the way these dudes are shooting 3-pointers, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I'm seeing people I seen McGee make a 3. I seen Howard make a 3. I'm like, everybody knocking down 3s like they layups. Like, you know what I mean? I'm so happy the Warriors is not in it because it would be dead. Because nobody seemed like they're missing 3-pointers, you know? But I would love the Lakers because I feel like that will, if they play them, it would snap them to saying, okay, we got to playoff status. Like, okay, that's one of those levels. Like, okay, we went to this level to beat it. Like, we got to start taking this serious. You know what I mean? Because some people can get lackadaisical, get real lackadaisical once they just beat a team that they know they could beat in the first round, that it really didn't drive them. So I feel like Trailblazers can take them to a place. And I think, truthfully, LeBron needs that. I don't think when it's teams that he know that he can dominate, I think he get lackadaisical. And he start, he can get a little immature. When he got to know he got to stay focused and constantly stay focused, I think you get the best out of him. So I guess you're asking me number 8, right?
Man,
I don't know. I don't know, bro. Like, I am at a toss-up. I'm hoping. I know, truthfully, to me, I don't think the Mavs is gonna make it, but I think they want the Mavs to make it. I think the Mavs might ball out.
I don't think so. They're so far ahead. Yeah, they're so far.
They're
They're 7
7
games.
out of Memphis.
Yeah,
They're
that's right. I'm
they're
looking
7
at it.
ahead
I'm
of
looking at it.
Memphis. They would have to.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I know, but I know, but I'm thinking in March. My bad. But I mean, me personally, I think that the Trailblazers is going to be there, but I would rather the Grizzlies be there because I really liked how the Grizzlies was playing. You know what I mean? But I think I think the Trailblazers is going to make it, especially when they were losing. Dame was hurt. You know what I mean? And I think the chemistry was a little off also. But they're not going to have a Ariza, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
no
not.
reason.
They're not gonna have a reason,
That,
but they get that hurts. I
Yeah.
agree that hurts, but they're getting Zach Collins and they're getting Nurkic back, and I think just like in a matchup with the Lakers, one of the biggest advantages the Lakers have. The Lakers are so big that size is not going to be an advantage for them if they go against Portland with Nurkic and with Collins.
right,
So yeah,
right. But me personally, I'm going to say I really believe in my heart the Trailblazers are going to be there. But I would like the I like the Grizzlies. I really do. I like the Grizzlies, and you know, I like the Grizzlies, man. I hope they can keep it going.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't believe on them and was negative, but I think Jay he's doing what he's supposed to do. Like he's saying, give me Rookie of the Year, and he's saying I'm gonna take this team that was nowhere near the playoffs into the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm sure everybody wants the Pelicans. They trying everything they can to force Zion in there, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Like I said, I just feel like Zion is dealing with some things. You know what I mean? I don't know why. I think that he might need to take a year. I think might need to take. He might have should have stayed at Duke or something. Like he might need to take a year. It seems like he got a lot of stuff going on that needs to be cleared up. You know what I mean?
But if he would have, I'm sorry, I'm a bad. I just make a little joke real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, he got $400,000 though. He did get. He could have stayed. He had enough. He got $400,000 in that, right, JB?
Yeah.
You know the joke.
Yeah, I know. But
no, but I just think he's got a lot of things going on, man. It just seemed like how is he supposed to? Maybe him coming back to the bubble helps him focus because I'm sure it's just basketball. But it just seemed like he got a lot of stuff going on.
He does, but I don't think that case is going to go anywhere, though, because, I mean, I saw that a judge kind of threw out, like, the case a few months. I think that New Orleans I think that the startup hurts them. The reason why I don't think they're going to make the playoffs is because they would have had a significantly weaker schedule, but now you're playing all these teams that are in the bubble. So, I mean, like, I think that if Zion probably comes back maybe 2 weeks earlier, I would say that they probably would have made the playoffs. If he would have came back 2 weeks earlier than what he did, because they've been playing good ball since he came back. I think he played 19 games. Yeah, They were 13. I think they were 13-6 in the games that he played. So I mean, they were playing like good ball. I mean, Lonzo Ball Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram both look like new players this year. I just think it's going to be really hard for them to make the playoffs. Memphis, I like Memphis, but Memphis. To me, when I watch them play, something seems missing.
Yeah, Andre Iguodala. Sorry.
But yeah, but and it's funny. It's gonna come between Memphis and Portland. So a part of me is gonna think this is gonna happen. So they're gonna play. I think they're gonna do the seed. The best two. The 2 out of 3 or whatever. They gonna do that. So. See Portland beating them twice, because if Portland is the 9th seed, obviously it's twice in order to get that 8th seed. I just think you just can't, like a guy like Dame Lillard, who's on the cusp of a NBA first team. I just can't see him that, and then like you said, bringing back Collins, and then also Nurkic. And shout out to our class of 2002 brother Carmelo, and he just slimmed up, so. That's another kind of one of the things where you're like, okay, well, that could be a potential way it can help them. And then CJ McCollum, I just think that experience alone, if they're back against the wall and playing against a Memphis, a small series that they have, I think they can overcome that. And think about this team went to the Western Conference Finals last year.
Yeah, they've done that a lot. You know?
Right, and that's another thing too, where I think it goes good when they would play Memphis and for the determination of the 8 seed, where if they had to go into that potential 3-game series, I guess. And no, well, yeah, really it'll be it could be if Memphis who is it? I think if Memphis they were 8th, they will win. It's done. But Portland will have to win 2 in a row.
We'll have to win twice.
I knew it was some kind of trickiness to it, but yeah. So I can see that happening. Portland overcoming that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think Portland, and that'd be a nice, interesting series. Like you said, it would be probably the best 1-8 matchup when we looking at it from probably one of the best matchups in the playoffs. Everything go. What? Yeah.
Wouldn't it be amazing? Like, I don't know if an 8 seed beats a 1 seed this year.
You know what? And I think we can we'll talk about that a little bit, kind of how I think that's how everything plays out. So sleeper, who was your biggest sleeper? Maui, your sleeper in the Western Conference?
Oh man. I don't know. I got so many. Like, it's so hard to say because I really think I'm gonna pick 2. I really think when you say sleeper, you mean sleeper that might have a good run?
Sleeper, more somebody who you think have a potential run.
Okay, I got you.
Who can kind of shake up things.
I think the Thunder. I want to say the Thunder and the Rockets, because the Rockets, when they started playing small ball, they looked more comfortable and dangerous. But I think the Thunder. I think once they started really believing that they was better than what everybody was saying they were, and then I saw the chemistry of Chris Paul and the coach, and then DC Young Fly, wasn't he Schroeder?
Dennis Schroeder, yeah.
Yeah. Chris Paul really seeing how deadly he was with his shot and how he was, he can score. It just has a lot of weight. I just felt like Chris Paul looks like, man, I could really work with this team. You know what I mean? Because I started really paying attention to them, and so I felt like I like the I started feeling like I didn't like how the Rockets did Chris Paul. You know what I mean? And once I was like, I didn't like that. And I'm a big Chris Paul fan. So to see him do so well with the Thunder, I was like, man, that's what's up. You know what I mean? So I'm actually gonna say both of them. They got the same record, so I'm gonna go ahead and say the Thunder or the Rockets.
JB.
I'm gonna. So the Thunder played really good, but I'm a bit concerned about them because I think that they're relying on a lot of young people, and they have a couple of people who are in contract limbos, like Gallinari. Is Gallinari going to be all in for it or whatever? I could definitely see them making a run, but they're a team I'm kind of on the fence about. I could see them making a run. I could also see them crashing out in the playoffs, like kind of early. They're one of those teams, like, if they get going, I can see good things for them, but I could also see things just blowing up.
Right.
I would say probably the 2 teams I would look out for, I would say Houston is a team I would look out for. And I know we're only talking about the Western Conference. I would look out for Houston because I like what Houston was doing with the small ball thing. And I think that with them not having to, like, play road games, all the games are basically on a neutral site. I think it helps them. I really do. I think that this them playing all the games on a neutral site helps Houston a lot. And another team I would throw out there too, team that I think that nobody is really talking about is probably Denver. Denver's the number 3.
I knew you was going to say that.
And,
I knew you were going to say that.
And the reason why I know Denver, I don't think Denver particularly matches up well with the Clippers or with Lakers. But who's to say that the Clippers and the Lakers won't get bounced early and they don't have to go against one of them? Maybe they have to go against Houston in the conference finals. They're a fairly good defensive team and they can shoot the basketball. So I would look out for Denver also. I'm not putting a lot of stock on it. If I was to say which team I had more confidence in, I would definitely say Houston.
Yeah. I think, yeah.
I'm sorry, Chris. I want to say, I knew that eventually. See, the Nuggets and the Jazz always look at the same, and I think by them being in a bubble, I think that's the problem because I think they're better home teams. That's one reason why I said it. I think I think the Rockets doing small ball with their coach gonna have to do something. And then you looking at Harden and you looking at Westbrook, like they've been in the playoffs. Now they don't keep making all these moves for both of their teams. When he's with the Thunder, they made all these moves. Now he's with the Rockets. Harden, same thing. They keep moving certain people around. They're gonna have to do something. You know what I mean? And I think they have an opportunity this year to do it. And it's thinking outside the box, but I think they could be dangerous. And like the same with Thunder, I feel like Chris Paul, same thing. He got something to prove. You know what I mean? But the Nuggets and Jazz, I don't know. I just always look at them as the same, like one of those teams that play home and the fans sell out every year. You know what I'm saying? They get to a point, but they never really get over that hump. You know what I mean?
I actually would have liked the Jazz a lot more if Bojan would have gotten hurt. I think him being out is a huge injury, and they struggle offensively already enough. So but Denver, to me, they're a top 5 offense, and I think that they don't have the advantage of being at Denver. But here's the thing though, Denver was a pretty good road team, and when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at teams that had good records on the road, and Denver did have a fairly good road record. So I don't think them being away from Denver is going to affect them too much. I would be more worried about Denver if they were in a situation where they had a home court advantage and they lost one of the first 2 games at home.
I got you.
I think Houston. I think Houston is more dangerous. Between Houston and Denver, I would say Houston's definitely more dangerous.
I think my biggest sleeper's got to be Denver, and I think what's different between all this now, because you throw away so many different variables. You don't have to worry about being at home. You don't have to worry about traveling. You don't have to worry about the crowd. So you kind of take all those kind of out of the window. So I look at I like Denver. I think Denver is they're intriguing because they can just do so many different things. Like, of course, with Jokic, he does everything. He's their best. Pretty much their best passer. Like their center is their best passer. Like they're so versatile. You got a guy like a Jamal Murray who's doing his thing. Then you got the veteran leadership of Paul Millsap. The intrigue with them, because I'm looking at a lot of these guys too. Because do we consider rookies get into this bubble? Are they now considered a second year guy? Because you think about the 4-month layoff. A guy like Michael Porter Jr., which could potentially be a situation where I look at now, I'm starting to look at those guys, and I think when we talked about the East last week, I looked at like Miami, where are these guys like Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn? Are those guys? Can we consider those guys second year guys at this point, where they've hit that they've already played their rookie season, quote unquote, and now they had that layoff. So that's another thing where it's intrigue of how this bubble is how this is happening. But I do see Denver. They're interested. And the weird thing about all of this, in which I'm going to try to pull this up right now while I have it on here, the standings. So essentially, you're looking at between Denver, which is Denver is 43-22, and to essentially to Dallas, that's a 4-game swing. So 3 through 7 could be a toss up, and that's where I think when you look at in the teeth of the Western Conference, where it's really going to be boiled down to the matchups, and that's going to be, I think, the intrigue of it all. Who's going to go where? Because pretty much 1 and 2, even though I can see Denver kind of climbing up to maybe potentially 2, because I think they only 1.5 out of with the Clippers. But essentially, 2 through 7 is pretty much going to be like a toss up, which is going to be really, really, really interesting. And to see Denver getting that second spot, I can literally see that happening, because I don't see the Clippers. I think the Clippers are kind of gonna, I wouldn't say, hate saying this word, but they might go into like these seeding games a little lackadaisical, to a point where they might get to a point where, hey, we'll do a little load management, what happened, because they know they're fast in the first spot. So more than likely they're where they, in a sense, they're like, well, the worst scenario is them potentially going, maybe third or fourth potentially. So I don't think they're gonna first say go hard in these 8-game seeding games. So that's another thing that's the intrigue of it. But I look at Denver. I think Denver is a team that could be dangerous. They're one that could crash our Laker Clipper dream series that we're so richly hoping it can happen, because Denver's on the line.
Man, it's a toss up, bro.
It's definitely a toss up, but I just think from what we can't really tell from the scrimmages. I haven't really liked what I've seen from Denver in the scrimmages. New Orleans beat the shit out of them the other day, and Denver's one of those teams. Like, I could see them making a move, but like I lean more towards Houston, because I saw what Houston was doing before the stoppage stopped, and they were playing like a very dangerous team. And what they did to the Lakers in LA on that Thursday night game was really impressive. And I think people made a big deal about their size, but I think that lineup that they have, even though they're small, they're all above average rebounders. So I don't expect for teams to kill them on the boards. So, and I would also say I don't think Denver's going to get that second seed. I really don't. I think the Clippers. I think the Clippers are going to end up with that number 2 seed. I really do. And I would say I think that there's a chance that Houston might be a team that makes a move. I think they're currently 6. I wouldn't be surprised if Houston doesn't end up with the 4 seed.
Yeah, because they're only 2. They're really 2.5 out of Denver for 3, and then essentially they're only 4 out of LA at number 2. So yeah, they're
I remember that. I was watching that because I was like, "Come on, Nuggets, get number 2. Come on," you know what I'm saying? Like, I was watching that, man. But then, like, the Bucks played the Nuggets when I told you they didn't even start the whole starting 5. It was a second unit and a third unit, and I was saying they just threw that game away, basically. You know what I mean? I was like, "What y'all doing, man?" And then we lost to the Nets. The Lakers lost to the Nets. You know what I mean? It was just crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And everything was so close, and I knew that Dame was coming back. So I know they was about to make a push, because even Bron had said something about that. And then, like I said, the Pelicans were starting to play better, but the Grizzlies was looking so dangerous. Dallas was falling back. You know what I mean? Like, they was getting hurt a lot. They wasn't winning. They was winning games like in November and December, and then January, it just started going backwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just weird. Like, the pandemic saved a lot of teams, man. Saved a lot of teams, but the Rockets can do it.
Yeah, but Deshaun, I don't think that Dallas was ever in danger of like missing the playoffs. So they had some injuries, and you look at what they were doing against the teams that were below them. They had a winning record against Memphis. They had a winning record against New Orleans, and they had a winning record against Portland. I don't think Dallas, and even though Dallas hit a little slump, Dallas is not really in that bad of a situation. Dallas could end up with the 5th seed. So I mean, they had some injuries.
Yeah, I mean,
they were. I don't think they were ever in danger of missing the playoffs. Yeah,
the way I was, like I said, I just seen them. They were up there in that top 2, 3, 4, and then they just started going down. Once the Rockets made that trade too, and then, like I said, the Thunder started making a push, because like in November, the Nuggets, they center, what's his name? Big boy.
Who?
The Nuggets for Denver.
Oh,
yeah, he was having some weight issues. Yeah, the Joker, he was having some weight issues, and he was getting real lazy and sluggish. You know what I mean? But long story short,
he lost that weight though.
That's what I'm saying. It's a toss up. That's why I'm trying to say, like, a lot of teams, they got lucky because certain people was able to get in shape. It is a toss up, bro. Like, you know what I mean? It is a toss up. Like,
which that's another thing too, where a lot of people were like, "Well, he lost too much weight," and that's another thing too, where it's just like, that's another thing, like you said, just the overanalyzing it, where it's like a lot of people were like, "Well, he lost too much weight because really he needed that bulk." But if it's gonna make him faster, I'm just like,
because he would get lazy.
Right. And yeah, and that's another thing too, because I remember what was it in a 4 overtime game, and he was gassed. I was like, man,
get lazy.
Is he gonna make it? Like literally, not Jokic.
Joker.
I'm talking about Jokic. Jokic.
Joker.
He came into the season overweight. Like we were joking about him.
Right.
He looked like the Serbian Pillsbury Doughboy, but I mean he's lost the weight. Yeah,
lost the weight, and he's good now.
That's why I said it's a toss-up, man.
Yeah. So, gonna be the biggest disappointment in the Western Conference. Mal, you first.
I don't know, man. Like even if the Lakers and Clippers don't make it, I don't look at it as a disappointment because I don't want to be, what I'm saying? Like I was very excited with this season. Some people said they didn't like it. I felt like just watching the season that anybody could win. Remember, I've been saying that the whole year. You know what I mean? So I don't really have a disappointment. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and say it though. If the Lakers don't win or the Clippers, I'll say the Lakers and the Clippers just so I can be safe. Whatever, I can say it. Y'all get mad. I don't care.
JB.
I would just say from a standpoint of like what's gone on, expectations, just playoff disappointment. I'm gonna say that probably the team that's probably going to end up being a really big disappointment. I would probably say it's going to end up being Utah. And I hate to say it like that because I don't think many people expected like them to be like serious contenders. But I think that the reason why I have them as a disappointment is I think that basically this team is going to end up being broken up because of Rudy Gobert and what happened with the coronavirus. I think that they have no choice but to trade Rudy Gobert now because Donovan Mitchell has like serious beef with him because Donovan Mitchell feels that like Rudy Gobert gave him the coronavirus because Rudy Gobert, what I was trying to explain to somebody was that Rudy Gobert, before he tested positive, he was feeling sick and he had been feeling sick for a couple of days and he was playing around with his teammates' stuff. And then, Donovan Mitchell turns out and he ends up getting the coronavirus. So Donovan Mitchell is really upset about that. So I think that relationship has been severed. And I think that after this season's over with and with Rudy Gobert's impending free agency in 2021, I believe, or 2022, they're going to have to trade him. And I think that, like with Bogdanovich being out, I think that they're primed to get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs. And what's really sad is if they would have stayed healthy and if the coronavirus doesn't happen, like to Donovan Mitchell and other things, they might be a sleeper to come out the West this year because I really did like the way that they built the team this year. And also you look at the fact that Mike Conley looks like he's like 60 years old now too. So I think that they're going to end up being a disappointment, not because of what their expectations were, but because of what has happened to them in the last like 4 months. I think that's why I would say they're going to end up being a disappointment.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Can I re-answer the question real quick?
Yeah.
Quick question. Didn't Dame he sign an extension?
Dame Lillard?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He didn't sign an extension.
He signed one last year actually. Yeah.
Okay, because I was thinking, I keep seeing that team get there, man. And just to touch back how you answered the question, I was just thinking if they didn't make the playoffs, like, wouldn't you start rethinking about, like, kind of tearing that team up? You know what I mean? They was in the Western Conference.
Yes and no.
They kind of let CJ McCollum go or something. Like, don't you think it's about time to make some moves?
This is a year because I think just a simple fact of what, like, they're on the verge of making it. Like, so a part of me, if it was like, they might be like 8 or 9 games out, like, to a point they didn't make it to the bubble. But then you got to think about it. This team still, this team really kind of got back to where it was. So it's kind of like incomplete. I feel as though like this is incomplete where I wouldn't do it. I think it'd be kind of premature. I would give it another year or so. If they're in the same predicament this time next year, I'll pull the trigger. But this year is a little different because because they're knocking on the doorstep. At least
Yeah, I know.
they're there.
But they're at the Western Conference Championship last year.
Well, but I think that I think that that's a bit deceiving, and I think that Portland fans, I think that they have to realize that every once in a while you have a funky team that makes the conference finals, but it doesn't mean that they're serious contenders. And I really just don't think the way that Portland is built that they're serious contenders. And I think that you make a good point, Deshaun. I mean, like if they don't make the playoffs this year, I wouldn't hesitate because they had a lot of injuries this year. They had a lot of injuries this year, but
they always have.
Oh well, not really. They've been a fairly healthy team for the bulk of it. Like, I mean, what substantial injury have they suffered like in the last 3 or 4 years?
Some of their big men in 2018 had some injuries before they got
last year, 2019, Nurkic got hurt towards the end of the year. But other than that, though, they have been a fairly healthy team. I just think that the team that they have it's a sort of flawed team. I like CJ McCollum and I like Dame Lillard, but I mean both of those guys are small, and I think over the course of a 7-game series, if you have like a guy like a Drew Holiday that you can put on one of them, I think that they're going to struggle. And I think that that's the bigger issue. I don't think that that's a championship team. I think it's a pretty good team, but I don't think it's a championship team.
And they're kind of hot and cold too, because you think about it, y'all beat them and y'all swept them in 2018.
Oh yeah.
And then you think about it, they kind of got lucky last year. Right. Essentially, they ran into OKC where it was falling apart.
Yeah.
And
now y'all answer my question for real.
Yeah, then they played a Denver team who essentially were just inexperienced. I think if they would have played them this year, Denver would beat them because of the experience. Because because essentially Denver had dead to rights, but like what happens with inexperienced teams, they just don't know how to close out.
Denver had them down 18 points. Had them down 18 points in the second quarter, and had them down for a good bulk of the game. And Portland just came back. But I'm not disagreeing. I think that they're a flawed team, but I think that this year I wouldn't break them up because, like I said, it's not like Dame Lillard. All these guys were healthy and they were underperforming. Like I think if they're healthy, they're comfortably in the playoffs. And maybe you have Dallas, Dallas, Memphis. Or maybe Oklahoma City, Dallas, and Memphis are duking it out, and maybe there's a big turnover between the playoff teams if they're completely healthy for the whole year. So
I think my biggest disappointment, and it's going to have to be Utah because honestly, everything else I think would make sense. Like if you get a first round exit out of just about everybody, except for maybe the exception of Houston. That thing with Utah, because you got to think about it's another thing where you're like, there's another team we got 2 All-Stars. So it's like you look at it and like you said, you know the whole situation. Because we even said, even if the NBA did come back, Utah, they were going to have an issue because their 2 best players got a beef. And that's just something that's we know that's going to happen. So, and that's another thing too, where and like you said, and it's funny because in the beginning of the year, I looked at that Mike Conley signing like, okay, well, wow, this team could be their apex could be the third best team in the West. I'm sorry. So I'm like, then like you said, then Conley just regressed. He literally hit the wall, and like I don't think no one would envision that happen. And then the sky's was the limit for that team, and I don't know. I don't know what your boy Quinn Snyder doing over there, JB. let me. Well,
I think he's doing the best he can.
He's doing
I don't
a
have
job,
a problem. Yeah, I just think that the team is like Portland is. I think a lot of these teams are flawed. I mean, let's just be honest. I think the Lakers have a flawed as a team. I think that they're not a particularly deep team. I think that like Anthony Davis and LeBron James, you know what you're going to get from them, but you don't really know what you're going to get from a third option. A lot of teams are flawed in today's NBA.
Yeah, and plus I had to get a dig out of your boy. Of course, he a Duke guy, so I had to take a little dig at Quinn Snyder.
My whole thing is like how nowadays the way these teams are, like how long. Like I've been watching Dame and CJ McCollum for some years now, and it's like okay, they're not they. The farthest they may go is the Western. Conference Finals. Are you really looking at them? And you would think after playing like the Warriors that they would figure out a way. Okay, they're gone. Let's go over the hump. Let's get over the hump. You know what I mean? But even when they was going low, we kept saying, well, Kobe got passed away, so Carmelo wasn't playing, and then Dame got hurt. It was just those things, but it still was like, man, they should be able to figure out a way to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like you said, Dallas, same with Dallas. Porzingis got hurt, Luka got hurt. You know what I mean? There's people there's other teams that they still would figure out a way to keep moving forward. You know what I mean? I don't know. Just sometimes, man, some of these teams just seem like they just want to be there. They know they can just get to the playoffs, and I hate to say that, but it just seemed like that's the way they built.
Yeah. Well, and it speaks to just the parity of it, where, like you're saying, a lot of these teams, the different options that they have is just it's a question mark. Like you were saying, like most guys, you were saying, like go back to JB point where essentially what you're gonna get out of these primetime players. It's just a matter of what you can get out of everybody else. We know what we'll get out of Dame and CJ and Luka and the Unicorn, but it's everybody else that's the question mark.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, right. And I just think that it's just like to talk about baseball for a second. I mean, I think that when we think of a championship team, I think my view of a championship team has changed immensely in like the last 10 to 15 years. I think when we think of teams that win a championship, we think, oh, they're perfect, but they're essentially not. Like Chris likes the Nationals. I think the Nationals were a very good baseball team, but they had a lousy bullpen and they were able to get away with it. And sometimes that's what happens. I think that sometimes the team that wins the championship is the team that has they have the flaws that show up the least amount of times in a series. And I mean, like Portland is flawed, but I think all the teams that are in the league have some kind of flaw yeah.
And some people have videotapes, and some people have little fake hand signals and gestures.
Yeah.
Astros.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, anyway, I just want to toss this out there. The Nationals lost again today, so like, hey, 9% of the season is over with, and they're in last place. Yeah,
it's crazy. Well, this could be a weird year. So, fellas, who will be your Western Conference champion? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I'm going first because I know what you're going to do. I'm saying the Lakers.
Okay.
I don't really know though, but I say the Lakers. I was watching them play, and I know the last time we had a conversation with Rondo being gone and being hurt, and I see JR. It seemed like it's gonna be interesting. You know what I mean? If everybody could necessarily play their roles, we'd be okay. You know what I mean? I think Waiters is fitting in well. I see like a killer instinct of scoring from him. And I seen Quentin Cook, like he was running the offense pretty good.
Your boy.
Right. I see like J.R. Smith seemed like he really in shape, and I'm happy for him. He look like he having fun out there. Dwight Howard gets on my nerves because he's too what jump. Like, just jump. Sometimes I wish he'd just jump because I know he got it in him. You know what I mean? Jump as hard as you can.
Boy. He's 35, just man.
Jump.
He's about to be 35.
Man, jump. He needs to jump. He be playing sometimes. He's stronger than what he really be trying to show people he is. He's gonna have to do that. You know what I mean? Because they gonna treat him a certain way. You know what I mean? But I was very happy for what I see, and I think it's something that it could be worked with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm picking the Lakers.
JP.
Okay, well, so let me ask a question. You guys did the Eastern Conference last week. Which team did you pick to win the Eastern Conference?
I didn't hear your picks. I think I had Milwaukee.
Okay.
I didn't have Milwaukee. I had
Milwaukee.
I said it could be the Bucks because that's just easy to pick. But I said I can easily see Boston easily see Boston doing it because for the simple fact Boston's been together for a long time, and like for instance, no offense, if Brad Stevens was coaching the Trailblazers, they'll be a better team because even if Dame gets hurt, even if Dame gets hurt, he would have his system would still have somebody in there to be able to get them further. And
Okay.
that was our discussion last week because you have a core of guys. Even though Tatum is there, you still got a core of guys that's been there with Kyrie, with who was before Kyrie, Isaiah. They're still there. You know what I mean? And it's still a core of players. It's still a core of players that's still there. And it's just a couple of add-ons.
I think that's a bit unfair, though, because last year Boston was relatively healthy, and they went 49-33. So I mean, like, I get what you're saying. I do like his system, and I'm a big Brad Stevens guy. I think he's a top 3 to 5 coach in the league. But I think it's a different animal when you're in the Western Conference and you're going against these big boys every night. So
it is.
Yeah, so
it is.
Like, I think Terry Stotts is I think Terry Stotts is a very. I don't think he's a great coach. I think he's okay. Better. He's better. He's better than what people give him credit for. He makes very good adjustments sometimes.
He's underrated.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm sorry. I said Boston, but I really was picking the I'm sorry. Now I remember. I didn't pick the Bucks. I said Boston could get it, but I picked the Raptors.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been
wake up, Chris.
I think. And probably Larry probably picked Philadelphia, didn't he?
No, I thought he was.
No.
But I forgot who he picked. He picked bad, and I'm like, man, he was gonna do it, but I was like, yeah.
Okay, so I'll give you guys my Eastern Conference pick. I really would have picked Milwaukee had the season ended when it was supposed to. I probably would have picked Milwaukee probably as the most likely team to win the championship, but I think the startup hurts them. I'm gonna say I think that I'll give you 3 teams that I think can win the East. Miami. I think Miami could win the East.
I said that too. I
think Boston could win the East. And Milwaukee can win the East. So I'll give you 4 teams that I think are probably Milwaukee, Boston, Miami, and Toronto were probably my 4 teams that I think could win the East. And I probably lean Toronto from the standpoint that they're a veteran team. Those guys are very focused. I think that they're looking forward to proving that they can do stuff without Kawhi Leonard. And they also, almost every guy that was important to that team missed substantial time this year, and they still were able to end up with the number 2 seed in the East. So I think Toronto's going to win the East. I do, and I think that they have a very good coach. I think Nick Nurse is a really, really good coach.
He's the best coach in the league.
I like him better than I like Budenholzer. I think I like Budenholzer as a regular season coach, but he does a lot of funky stuff with his lineups. But anyway, going to the Western Conference. I'm gonna go. This is a tough one for me because I think that they're the 3 teams that I think one of these 3 teams is going to win the West. The Lakers, the Clippers, or Houston. Those are the 3 teams I'm looking at. I'm gonna go with my preseason prediction. I'm gonna go with the Clippers because I think that them being in the bubble helps them. Because if the regular season would have ended no pandemic, they would have had to basically beaten the Lakers 7 times on the road because all those games would have been road games essentially. I'm gonna go with the Clippers. I'm not counting out the Lakers. Don't get me wrong, Deshaun. They could do it. Like, I mean, it's
a toss-up, bro. It's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. Been that way all year.
Just the thing that gives me apprehension about the Lakers, I just think that the Lakers, I don't know, what are you going to get from that third guy? What is Kuzma going to give you? And Kuzma has no playoff experience. The thing that I think bothers me most about the Lakers, LeBron has that playoff experience. Can LeBron put these young guys on his back and lead them to the finish line? I know what I'm getting from LeBron. I know what LeBron's going to give me. I'm not worried about him. Yeah. And to a lesser extent, I'm not really worried about Anthony Davis too, because Anthony Davis has playoff experience. I'm worried about the others. I'm worried about Kuzma. I'm worried about Contavious Caldwell Pope. I'm worried about Caruso. What is he going to do? Because you never know what's going to happen when these games actually mean something and the pressure is on. And you also, with these young guys, they don't have the home team. Like, I think that it's something about the fans that pumps up young players. A lot of young players play really well at home, but with them not being at home, them being at Mickey Mouse Arena, I mean, what's going to happen when shit gets rough? I mean, I'm not worried about LeBron James. He can handle adversity. He's been handling adversity for a hell of a lot longer than he's been playing basketball. Yeah, he's been
right.
He's
but
been
that's only 3 players. You got Cook who has who McGee.
I don't
you have Quentin Cook, you have McGee, Danny Green. It's a lot of still people that.
So,
I mean,
Danny Green is not a consistent third option, though. Danny Green is the kind of guy, he can shoot well for you. He plays good defense, but if Danny Green is your third guy that you're depending on, your team has problems. And you're talking about Quinn Cook. Quinn Cook had a lot of opportunities in Golden State in the playoffs.
No. I'm talking about playoff experience. Yeah, I'm just saying the people that's basically playoff experience.
Well, no, Danny Green has playoff experience, but I'm talking about like the guys that they're counting on to be like the number 3 option. Kuzma, who is the real wild card, he has no playoff experience. Danny Green has playoff experience. I'm not worried about him either. Like, but like Danny Green's not your number 3 guy. He's probably going to be like your 5th scorer of the game or something like that. He can make threes for you, whatever. I think that there are a lot of questions about who's going to be the other guy, because I know probably I can count on LeBron and AD giving me 25 a game in the playoffs, but where are the other points going to come from? And what's going to happen when LeBron has to sit out like 6 or 7 minutes? And that's a problem. Their bench has been a huge problem this year.
It's always been a problem when he has to sit down.
Yeah. So the team I got the Clippers. I've been saying that since October. And definitely in this predicament, I think the bubble situation. Honestly, I think what it ultimately comes down to is got to be coaching, because essentially this is going to be probably by far. This is more so of a mental championship or mental playoffs more than anything, because like I talked about earlier, the variables are different. Like you said, we don't have the home crowd where guys can get loose in a game. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have any fans. You don't have to worry about traveling. It's a whole lot of different variables with it. And it's going to ultimately come down to coaching. I think Doc can get these guys mentally straight. And actually, these guys really, they've dealt with the adversity anyway. We look at guys like Paul George. You look at Kawhi. Like, you really don't have to get up for these guys per se. And I just and then like you said, go back to your point, JB, where we know for a fact you got LouWill and you got Montrez coming off the bench, averaging combined almost 37 points a game. Well, over 37. Anyway. And like in those stretches, and even in the scrimmage, you can tell in the scrimmages, even when LeBron is out, you're like that team, and it's even going back to Cleveland, where when he's out, it's just like they won't say they get to a point where it's like there's nothing, like they can't do nothing in that field for LeBron, because almost like damn, he can't get no break or anything by the time he'll be a nice little run.
You know what's weird about that? The only time I saw them even looking halfway decent, because I know one game Caruso hurt his back, but Alex Caruso played in the game, and they looked like they was flowing. The best I had seen with LeBron sitting on the damn, man, it was crazy. Like, oh my God, it's like a pickup basketball game.
But I think it's going to really ultimately come down to just essentially, I think coaches are going to be very valuable in this bubble per se. And I think Doc is one of the best ones that we have in this bubble. And I like this Clippers team, man. I just really, and like we said, and that was my biggest hurdle was, man, they're going to have to play in the Staples Center 7 games in a row. If it was a 7-game series, but it's like, damn, how could they, could they win 4 road games essentially? Because we all know who runs LA. No question.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they don't have to worry about that. They're essentially in a bubble, and then they're in a place where, and like when I think about this type of bubble situation, they're probably the perfect team to be in this bubble, because in the end of the day, they kind of remind me of like when you think about the NCAA tournament, like that 14th seed that they all dogs. So like they remind me of Mercer or Lehigh. Let me stop. We lost to Wolford, so I mean I can say Wolford too. But those are the type of those guys always they the backs against the wall kind of guys, the heat check guys. And I just look at this Clippers team as the favorites in the East. I mean in the West, pardon me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I ain't gonna argue it. It is what it is because, like I said, being a friend of LeBron, it's always been that way. Like even Steph Curry said, "Hey, man, when you don't have the team that you used to have and you got to carry it by yourself," he said, "Now I understand what you got to do." And it's the truth. Like even when AD out there, it's like it just look little, but it's scrimmage. It's scrimmage too. You know what I'm saying? So maybe when they play, it might look a little bit better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it just seemed like sometimes it was just a pickup game.
Yeah, it definitely will look better. It definitely will look better when they get into it.
Yeah. And a lot of it was just more so of like momentum. And you're gonna have those type of ebb and flows, and it's gonna be a whole lot different, but it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be better. I mean,
I seen the center from Dallas. What's his name? Musan or something like that. What's his name? Big dude.
Boban.
Boban.
Are you talking about Boban?
Yeah, man. He shot 3 threes and made them like it wasn't nothing. He barely jumped. That was crazy. I'm like, man, what is going on with these bubble hoops? Like, like everybody's splashing. J.R. Smith just looked like his old self, just knocking them down.
Even Ben Simmons hit one.
Right.
I was like, whoa, cancel Christmas.
He went to a shrink.
Yeah.
He went to a shrink.
Yes.
Because he was so.
Yes, it's in his head, man. That's what I'm saying. It's in his head. But I'm telling you, man, he hit those and started getting a nice little clip. You better cancel. You gonna cancel Christmas. So, fellas, let's put a bow on this week's Couch Coach Live, man. Who gets this week's game ball? We'll go around the horn. JB.
I give the game ball this week. I give it to the Washington football team for finally changing their name. And also, I also want to give a tip of the hat to them too. I mean, in a time and in a place where we don't get consistency, the Redskins have been consistently bad. Last place finish after last place finish. So I just want to give my game ball to them. I saw the standings of the decade from 2010 to 2019, and they were in last place, and it was just so beautiful. And I was like, man, like I'm glad I'm not a fan of the Washington Redskins. So Washington football team, you get my game ball, and that's what you get. Hey, if you wouldn't have made all those two comments, I wouldn't have been petty like this. Yeah. I wouldn't have been petty like this.
Yeah, because what's gonna happen when we get that stadium and we go to RFK, we're gonna kick y'all ass.
Okay, if you say so. If you say
we
so.
Get that new stadium and everything, we're gonna kick y'all ass like we used to back in them RFK days. But
okay, I'm waiting.
Yes, sir.
I'm waiting. Yeah, 16-6 against Washington in the last 22 games.
Hey.
I'm waiting for y'all to actually turn it into a rivalry again. So hey.
Oh, it's coming.
Wow.
It's coming. Yeah. Wait for it. Wait for it.
Wow.
LouWill, your thoughts? I mean, your game ball.
Game ball. Game ball goes to Daryl Wolfer Taylor. He just signed his deal today for 4 years with the Seattle Seahawks. 6.7 with a signing bonus of 2.7. Congratulations, man.
Yeah, man.
Wow. I got all my receipts. Too. So when I drove you to do them, congratulations. Man.
Yes, indeed. Matt's gonna go to Bowl, man. His first ever scrimmage. I know he's had some issues, injury issues at Oregon. Now he's back doing his thing. So that first scrimmage, he had 16, 10, and 6. And let me tell y'all something. Y'all gotta go on Twitter, man. Twitter blew up. Like Twitter made him like the greatest player on NBA history. It was crazy.
Why did they give him a physical? What was they trying to say?
Huh?
They said gave him a urine test right afterwards. Something like that.
It was just a random drug test on it.
Yeah, random drug test.
It's just a random drug test.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Usually when they random like that, they trying to say something.
Well, Bo got it though. Bo. That was crazy. Like Twitter went crazy. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. But that's 2020 for you in a nutshell, man. We getting these guys everything in 2020. So, final thoughts. We'll go around the horn. Mal, your final thoughts.
Oh man, great show, man. Again, um, I want to say, again, my condolences to the Washington team. You know what I'm saying? That was a great show that y'all did. Seriously, I know it. You guys are a big fan. That's I feel bad for that. But I didn't feel bad when the Browns left Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, just the same thing, man. It's good to see. I'm excited about watching live sports. I hope Major League get it together. Seems like everybody else get it together. Hope they figure it out.
I know. But yeah, JB, your final thoughts.
Final thoughts, folks. Just use common sense and be safe, and just chill out. Just relax, be safe, and use common sense, and just best of luck to everybody.
Yes, indeed.
Lemon pepper wing.
Yes, that's another. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely check on that. Once everything clears and go to Atlanta, and I'm definitely gonna get some, and I will definitely do a preview on that. So, just final thoughts, man. Another great show. Social media, just check us out on anything. Pretty Facebook, Twitter, Instagram on the Couch Coach Live. Also check out the website couchcoachlive.com. Got a few things brewing, and we'll have it out and we'll show it to the world. And yes, so this has been this week's Couch Coach Live, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Okay. You're welcome.